Hello everyone, I'm just going to do a fusion guide. I've been getting a lot of requests for this. The way fusion works in this is it's really tricky and it's hard to take advantage of until you get to end game. In fact, to be honest, I beat the whole game without even using the fusion system, but afterwards I messed with it. So I'm just going to go over some ways that you can fuse your gear. First, the main way you're going to be fusing your gear throughout the game is by fusing the same gear together. So like, let's say I have glacial earrings here and I can fuse them with other glacial earrings. So basically when you fuse a weapon or fuse any piece of equipment, what's going to happen is you're going to take the skills that it has. So I have Aqua and I have Mirage, and it's going to either transfer directly to the next piece you fuse it with. Like let's pretend like Mirage was not in the second slot like it is now and it's on the third slot. And when I fuse it with the glacial earrings, let's say if it was in the third slot, it would transfer over since I don't have a third slot skill. So if the slot is empty, the skill will just directly transfer to the piece of equipment. And on the left you can see that it's going to show the outcome of what I get. Now if you do have skills already there, if it's the same skill, it'll just remain the same skill. So if I have like 2 Aqua, as you can see I do have 2 Aqua on the glacial earring in the first slot, then it's going to continue to stay Aqua when I transfer it, when I fuse it. Now if you have 2 different skills, they're going to mix into something else, and I'm not sure what the formula is for what it will turn into. I don't know if there even is a formula, but I'm sure there is. I just haven't really, like, I've tried to write down another skill and kind of try to see if there's any pattern, but there's no like really straightforward pattern. So you just see if what it's going to fuse into is what you're going to want. Now let's say you fuse these 2 pieces and you see how chain has a blue name and it has the key next to it. Now what that means is that I will have to go battle and to unlock that skill. I'll probably like 3 or 4 battles and you'll unlock the skill. Until you unlock the skill, it won't actually take effect. And once you unlock the skill, it will just be a normal skill, and if you try to fuse again, it's gonna mix like it's already gonna do right now. Now let's say that you already have a blue skill on a weapon or a locked skill. Let me try to find a weapon that has a locked skill. Alright, so my prickly earrings, they have a locked skill on the 1st and the 4th slot. So let's say that I fuse it with something that has this right here has a 1st and a 4th skill. Now what's going to happen here is the locked blue skills are going to be completely overridden. So as you can see on my quartz earring, I have Justice in the 1st slot and I have Fyra in the 4th slot. And when they go over to the locked skills, they're just going to override them completely and transfer like a standard transfer, like as if the slot was empty. Now trying to get the skills you want on a piece of equipment can be really challenging. You have to plan ahead, you have to look at what you have, what you want to have at the end, and you have to really like plan it out. I suggest saving right before you go into equipment fusion, just in case you kind of mess up or something. You might have to back out. It's like, let me just show you some of the fused equipment I've made. Like my unnamed sword here, I have Tempest on all 4 slots. So in order to do that, I had to have weapons, of course, that had Tempest on the 1st through 4th slot, and I had to fuse them in a way that I wouldn't accidentally mix it with another skill, or if I did mix it, I would have to make sure that I override it with the skill that I want in the end. So it takes a lot of planning to get to like an end result if you want to have a weapon like this that has like all the same skill, or you just want a specific skill set. So let me try to see if I can put some stuff I want on a piece of gear here. Let me work with the ring because this is pretty easy to have a lot of rings. So let's say I wanna, let me try to find something to go for. Okay, so let's say I want to have defense +4. I want to have defense. So what I'm gonna do is if I try to fuse it now, it's gonna turn into pleasure, as you can see over there, the blue name. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to fuse something else first. So I'm gonna use demon here. This is gonna kind of just be my throwaway. So I'm gonna make demon the fuse bait, and so I fuse that. Now demon mixed with the skill, and now it's a blue lock skill on the second slot. It's a fatty G. So now I'm gonna go find my defense right here, and you see now when I fuse this, it's gonna be what I want it to be, defense. Since it's a blue lock skill, the next skill I fuse onto it is gonna override. So there we go. I fused that, and now I have the defense +4 that I wanted. But you see, I can't just directly fuse it. I have to take the steps to fuse it with something else to kind of be like a throwaway fusion, so that I can get the skill mix out of the way, and then when it's a locked skill, I can just override it with what I want. Now, you know, getting all the different slots becomes very tricky. Maybe you want to get, like, let's say I want to get pleasure on my third slot. So now I gotta find, so right here I can fuse this as a throwaway, which is gonna turn into flame. So fuse that. Flame, I have the flame mix, and now I'm just gonna go down here and put pleasure on, and of course that's just gonna go over. So that's kind of what you have to do to get the skills. First you're gonna have to mix it with something else to get the blue lock skill, and then you can just override it completely. Now if you go in battle and you do unlock the skill, then it's going to act as a normal skill. So like let's say I have Mirage here and it's locked. If I go battle and unlock it, then it will just be a standard skill, and the next time I try to skill fuse, it's not going to override the skill, it's going to mix again. So it's only going to override the skill if it's still in its locked state. Otherwise you're going to have to refuse it if you do unlock the skill in battle. That's pretty much it. It's really, like, it's as complicated as it is, it's also really straightforward. Now another thing to equipping fusing equipment is you will get stat bonuses. So let's say I have Aqua Ring here and I fuse it with another Aqua Ring. Like right now it has 74 defense. So if I fuse it with another Aqua Ring, you see it's gonna have 80 defense. So let's just do that. You can fuse up to level 99. So you can keep fusing. Like even if you're not concerned with skills, you can just kind of keep fusing a piece to get the stat bonuses, which become pretty dramatic once you max it out, depending on what kind of gear it is. Some gear will raise by 3 points, some 6, some whatever. It just depends on the piece. So that's essentially it. That's the importance of the skill fusion. When you fuse skills, let me go over here to the skill board. Okay, there's all these different factors in when you equip equipment and what skills you have. So like let's say if I stack 4 of the same skill here, I can get chain, or no, sorry, not chain, but exceed. So you see, by having a stack 4, I get exceed, which number of combos in normal state is +1. And then, you know, all the different stacks you have, like I have stack 3 here, which is going to give me blast gauge +1, and so on. And then you also get situations where you can kind of play like Tetris or something and line elements up. So let's say I wanna get like a whole row of this elm, And by doing that, I'm gonna get a stat bonus plus 20. Whoops. So let me see, where's that at? So you get like this, an elm bonus soldier, which raises all my stats by plus 20. And there's a lot of different mixes and variations to that. You know, you can mix like all the same element across, or different stuff like that. And I will try to link a guide. I don't know if there's really an English guide out yet. There's some Japanese ones, which I will link the Japanese ones. I'm not too sure if there's an English one yet, because some of the translations are a little sketchy, and I'm not 100% sure what they do, but for the most part you can notice the ones that you're gonna really want. And that's really how the fusion works. If you let me also show another thing. If you have a piece, I don't know if I have any right now. They're very, very rare to get on a first playthrough or on lower difficulties, but sometimes you will get a piece that has a multiplier. Like it'll say, okay, you see right here on my unnamed vestments, I have the first skill slot, I have Tempest times 2. Now that will actually count as 2 Tempests, but not until you go to New Game Plus and you get the Great Shot bonus. There's a Great Shot bonus that will allow this to register as 2 Tempests, which allows you to get some really powerful skills. Like let's say if you stack 16 the same skill, you can get Eternia, which lets you do infinite chaining as long as you have SP. So some of that stuff you can't really get, or it's not easy to get until you get to New Game Plus. This gear I want to talk about right here is Unnamed Gear. As you can see, you've been seeing me mess around with a little bit of this. The Unnamed Gear only has 10 stats of 10. The stats are really low, but the thing with this gear is you can fuse it with any piece of the same type. So like I can fuse the Unnamed Sword with any of Sori's swords. I'm not restricted to same name sword. Now the weapon is weak, it only has 10 attack, but that's not a problem because you're going to take advantage of the fact that you can fuse the perfect skill set onto it, and ideally the perfect, like whatever skill set you're planning out should make up for the fact that it's going to be a really weak weapon naturally. And of course, you know, between level ups and using herbs to boost your stats, the attack power of the weapon itself will become pretty irrelevant in the long run if you take advantage of other ways to grow your characters. And basically the way the Unnamed Gear works, every character gets an unnamed weapon. They get an unnamed secondary weapon, and there's 1 unnamed male and female armor, there's 2 unnamed rings, and there's 2 unnamed boots. And before these actually become unnamed, you have to actually raise it to level 10. Like let's say my prickly earrings here, they haven't become unnamed yet. So what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna come over here to the Lord of the Lands, and I can sanctify the equipment. So I can sanctify it, and when I do this, the first slot skill is gonna get that multiplier I was showing you earlier, the times 2. So pinion's gonna turn into pinion times 2. And now what it means when I sanctify this, it gives you the multiplier, which the equipment has to be at plus 10 to sanctify it. But it also lets you transfer this to New Game Plus. You won't be able to transfer this to New Game Plus unless you sanctify it to where it turns into unnamed. So you see it has the pinion times 2. And that's pretty much how it works. The Unnamed Gear you will not get your hands on until very late game, but before you go into New Game Plus, I highly suggest you mess around with it and try to fuse the best you can get on it. I mean, if you don't really want to grind out hardcore on the first playthrough, it can actually be a lot easier to do it on a second playthrough. I did kind of take the time to grind a little bit and set my skills up, but it can be a bit of a challenge to do so. equipping Normans is going to be really important for getting the skills you want. You can equip like multiple Normans, but I suggest just equipping one. Equip what you want. Because if you equip a bunch of, like, normally you want to stack. You're always going to focus on trying to make a stack. So, you know, if you want to get like 4 chain or 4 mirage or 4 whatever, it doesn't make any sense to put too many Normans on, because then you're just going to get really random weapons with really random skill assortments. Now, obviously if I put just chain on, I can get a bunch of chain weapons. That way when I'm going to fuse, I'll have a much easier time trying to create like a weapon that has all chain on it, if that's your objective, of course. I mean, it all depends on what you're aiming for in the end, but equipping Normans is going to be a very important part, and that just means that whenever weapons drop, there's going to be a high chance of them having the skills. It's not guaranteed, but it's a high chance. And you don't necessarily have to equip more Norman than you want. I'd say that's pretty much it for the weapon fusion. It's really simple once you understand it. It's just that it can be confusing to understand at first. If you guys have any questions, just leave a comment. Thanks for watching.